Here we're doing another video. This one is, its long title is Self-Determination, the Suppression of the Self and Knowledge. That is, the suppression of knowledge. Since the very beginning of what Christians think is the beginning of the world, which 6,000 years ago, back when Adam and Eve were first in the Garden of Eden, very beginning of the Bible at least, let's just go with that, you can see from the very beginning this so-called God that Christians worship, this Yahweh, Jehovah, this false God who is a pretender to be the creator and who is not the creator. He certainly didn't create us. You were not created. You are part of the God, the supreme being. You are part of that energy. That would be common sense to us. We would know these things if we weren't so suppressed by the church and by our own personal beliefs. We suppress ourselves. But from the beginning, Adam and Eve made a conscious choice. They decided not to listen to Yahweh, Jehovah, and to do what it was that they wanted to do. That was to advance their understanding and their knowledge. And that has been attributed, the serpent has been attributed to Satan, and that's a falsehood, because Satan, at least the impression of Satan, unless you just want to call him the adversary to Yahweh, Jehovah, Satan is an evil entity that does not want us to be liberated. Satan better describes, of course, the Christian God than anything else that I can think of. Now, Lucifer goes by that name for a reason. She looks at Lucifer in respect to this, Lucifer. What would you say? What would you say about how you perceive Lucifer as far as let's say that he is the serpent? What would that mean to you?
Okay, well, Lucifer is would be sort of like Christ consciousness. It's within. We are light bearers. Anybody who is a light bearer is Lucifer, and so you'll see that in my name too, Lucifera, and Lucifer is basically the God of liberty. He liberated Adam and Eve from the garden.
Did anything he said that, and you could read it for yourself, the Bible, I'm not going to give you text right here, because you should know these verses backwards and forwards, Christian, you should. Of course, it's in Genesis. Anything that's said by the serpent, was it a lie?
There's no lie in what the serpent said. But
and by eating of the tree of knowledge, here we got it at the very beginning, that knowledge is somehow an evil thing. What happened to Adam and Eve? What happened to them in the garden?
Well, they were cursed by the demiurge, the Christian God.
What did they gain? What did they gain? What knowledge? What was the knowledge that they gained?
Their eyes opened up and they realized who they were.
And who are they?
Gods and goddesses.
We are all gods and goddesses. So this is ridiculous. This whole idea that somehow we have this creator over us who tells us what to do. This is, again, the suppression of the self and knowledge, which the church is instituted to do this. But you've got the head of the church, if you want to call him that, this entity called Jehovah, Yahweh, who is the one who is doing this suppression of self and knowledge. He is an actual entity, but he is certainly not. He is not for you, and he's certainly not a good father. A good father would want you to accumulate knowledge and accumulate real success. That is spiritual understanding. That's the real success. That's the real success in this universe, to gain spiritual understanding and enlightenment.
So true. So you have the serpent who basically tells Adam and Eve the truth. There's no lie in what the serpent said. And you do, if you read the Bible carefully, you will see that this God is basically trying to keep this knowledge hidden from Adam and Eve.
And he lies to them.
He lies straight out. Yes.
He straight out lies to them and says that you're going to die the day that you even touch the tree.
Yes.
This idea that they died of a spiritual death is it's really straining credulity, Christians, quite frankly. It's really straining credulity. Believability, that is. This goes on in Genesis. This demiurge entity, this entity that thinks himself to be the creator God. It goes on in Genesis, in the Tower of Babel story, in which God comes down to confuse them and confuse their language, because he sees that they are again becoming more and more self-empowered. They're becoming more self-empowered. Because of that, he's stopping them. And there is no other way around it, you sheep, you Christians. There's no other way around it. To say that your God is against self-empowerment. Period. Okay, well, back to the church itself. Of course, none of these quotes that are given to by the church are against what the Bible says. Most of the ones I'm going to say in any of these videos aren't going to be against what the Bible says. Augustine believed that our freedom was lost with Adam. He wrote that Adam's sin was the nature of the semen from which we were propagated, brought suffering and death into the world, took away our free will, and left us with inherently evil nature. First, let me get on this whole idea of free will. We don't have free will. We don't have free will. Christians, if you believe that you have free will, you are living in a fantasy land. You don't have free will. Not if I'm to believe that your God is true, because freedom to either do what I tell you to do, or burn in an everlasting hell, that's not a choice. That's not a freedom of choice. It's absolutely just mind-boggling that people like you still exist on this planet in the 21st century. I wake up every morning and wondering when we are going to finally be free of the yoke of your tyranny, you Christians. Every morning I wonder when it is that you people are going to wake up. Not going to happen for most of you. Not going to happen for most of you, but some of you will listen. I know I have that in my heart. Otherwise, I would lose hope. Otherwise, what's the point of going on, right?
Exactly.
Now, also it says in this verse that we have an inherently evil nature. So, as far as this God is concerned, as far as this church is concerned, as far as this religion is concerned, we are screwed from the day we're born. We have no hope. No hope. Because we have an evil nature within us. We were born in sin. Psalm 51:5. Behold, I was brought forth in iniquity, and in sin did my mother conceive me. So here in this verse, not only are we inherently sinful when we're born, but we're inherently sinful when we're even conceived.
So true. There's another verse, Isaiah 64:6. It says, "But we are all as an unclean thing, and all our righteousness are as filthy rags, and we all do fade as a leaf, and our iniquities, like the wind, have taken us away. What do you make of that?
You can't do anything to please this God. Nothing. And understand that both of these verses are from the Old Testament, so this is before the so-called sacrifice and the so-called saving grace, how we are saved from hell. Let's try to figure this out. Let me give you an analogy. Okay, I have a son. He's about to turn 12 years old. Let's say I turned on the stovetop and I grabbed his hand and I was about to put his hand on the stovetop and burn it, and then I said, you know what? I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. Now you need to thank me because I saved you for burning your hand. That is the same logic that your Christians are using when you say that somehow we are saved from going to hell. We are saved from it. I'm saved from going to hell because I know who I am. That's how I'm saved.
And really, when Christians say you need to be saved, well, saved from what?
Right. Saved from what? We're inherently within our soul, within the fabric of who we are, the energy that makes us up is God. It has nothing to do with a book. It has nothing to do with a creative force. There is no creative force unless you're talking about the creator of matter. And creation of matter was an inherently evil act. Okay, we have no power of self-determination at all, according to this religion. An individual, according to Augustine, had little power to influence his or her predetermined fate and is entirely dependent upon God for salvation. I was just talking about salvation. Another quote, man has been naturally so created that it is advantageous for him to be submissive, but disastrous for him to follow his own will, and not the will of his Creator. This is Augustine again. Not the will of his Creator. It is a scientific fact. Energy is not created or destroyed. Fact. We are energy. Fact. Our mind is energy, and that's who we are. Our mind is who we are, not our body. So if you want to talk about a creator, the only creator there might be, as far as what makes me up is concerned, is this physical body. Am I supposed to be thankful that my soul has been trapped within this physical body so much that I'm supposed to worship this creator? It's outrageous.
This is basically a prison, you guys.
Right, absolutely. We're in a prison. The planet is a prison, and this physical body is a prison for the spirit, for the soul. But we're supposed to worship. Yah. Okay, going a little bit now into more of the knowledge area. It became important for the church fathers, and later, to make the church verify history in biblical context. History was no longer just the history of nations and people. It was only supposed to be the history of the Bible and how anything that happened in history is related to the Bible. Daniel Boorstin writes in his book, history became a footnote to orthodoxy, the Christian church, in other words. So history became as just unimportant compared to the church and the church history. Another quote, history was rewritten under Constantine by Eusebius to reflect Christianity. Okay, the quote here, other writers of history, Eusebius wrote, recorded that the fighting of wars waged for the sake of children and country and other possessions, But our narrative of the government of God will record in ineffaceable letters the most peaceful wars waged in behalf of the peace of the soul. So, you see, the church, they did an oxymoron here and waged peaceful wars. Peaceful wars. They didn't kill people. This is going to be an entirely different video, but of course, as we well know, the church, Protestant as well as Catholic, and for all Catholics, did in fact kill a lot of people. A lot of people. And that's peaceful. That's peace. We see war is peace and peace is war. It's Orwellian.
The numbers are really big too.
Well, there's millions of people. But we'll get into that in an entirely different video. In general, the condemnation of any kind of knowledge that's outside the church here is Gregory the Great, a pope, condemned education for all but the clergy as folly and wickedness. He forbade laymen to read even the Bible. Of course, that's well known. He had the library of Palatine Apollo burned. Here's a quote: "Lest its secular literature distract the faithful from the contemplation of heaven." Do you know how far back the church must have put us in technology, in knowledge, in understanding of the world and the universe around us, because they were allowed to roam free for so many years, that they weren't reined in? Can you imagine how much more advanced we'd be at this point if it weren't for the Christian church? It is a blight, a plague upon this planet.
It is so true.
The Fourth Council of Carthage in 398 forbade bishops to even read the books of the Gentiles. Another quote. Here's another one. Jerome, a church father and early monastic in the 4th century, rejoiced that the classical authors were being forgotten, and his younger monistic contemporaries were known to boast of their ignorance of everything except Christian literature. I'm stupid. Isn't that great? They're boasting for everything, their ignorance. And the scary thing is, Lucifer, the scary thing is that we live in the age right now where you can go on the computer and you've got virtually any information in the world that ever existed in history at your fingertips. The information age. And yet you Christians are still so ignorant.
So ignorant and lazy.
Lazy. Ignorant and lazy. You've let your brains go lazy. Most of us are products of a public education, and the public education in this country is terrible. They do not teach. They do not teach critical thinking skills. If they did, the sheep would wake up and start rebelling against the government and against the church, like they should be. Not the government, folks. I'm not saying that. Anyway, also, after Christians had spent years destroying books and libraries, St. John Chrysostom, the Greek father of the church, declared, "Every trace of the old philosophy and literature of the ancient world has vanished from the face of the earth." How sad, how sad. Well, that's a knowledge. Also, we're also talking about the idea of self-awareness as well. Yes, also, of course, we were speaking about knowledge.
Speaking of knowledge, don't be afraid to learn things. I mean, take the fruit of knowledge. It's there. I mean, the church has suppressed it for so long. Use your knowledge, grow, progress. Knowledge is the key here. So knowledge is important, and so is wisdom.
These videos are not meant just to be from a negative perspective of attack the church. We're also trying to get you to sort of wake up and understand your full potential as a human being. As a human being who is essentially part of the entity we call God. But the church, of course, the suppression of the self and the suppression of knowledge is what the church and the Bible seems to be all about. You know, it's true that the church suppresses knowledge, of course, but you were saying, Lucifer, that the church doesn't only suppress knowledge, but in general religion, not just the Christian church, suppresses the self by telling you to suppress your emotions. And how did you put it?
That they basically strip away your emotions, whether that be anger, ego, whatever, you know. And so if you don't have any of these things, then you are not yourself. You basically you become like a robot, basically.
You think the church wants a homogenous group of people that are just mindless?
Yes.
It's, why do you think that is? Why do you think it is even the New Age movement? Do you think the New Age movement does this as well?
Oh yes, of course. I mean, you just go to any of the YouTube videos or their articles, you'll see it in their messages.
What is it? Strip away your emotions.
Yeah.
Suppress them.
To suppress them, to strip it away. Yeah.
So you think that by stripping away your emotions, even the negative ones, sort of destroys your identity. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Well, why do you think that the church or these New Age groups would want to do that?
Well,
why do they do this?
Well, it could be to control people. It could be to, basically to control people so people don't fight back.
Do you think that it might be from a good place, though, that even with the Christian church, that it might be harmonious to be part of the crowd and to do as everyone else does, you know?
No, if you are a light bearer, you are not going to go along with the crowd. You are going to stand up and speak the truth.
You're going to do it even if people don't listen to you, even if you only get negative responses.
Yes.
Do you feel that many of these light bearers are doing that, or shining their light into the darkness?
Fortunately, a lot of them are not doing this. They're just on cloud nine. It's all lovey-dovey stuff, love and light all the time. There's no actions coming from them. A true light worker would be one who is persecuted by a lot of people. That goes through a lot of the light bearer will go out through a lot of crap. Just like, for example, Prometheus, you know, and other light bearers like Prometheus. So.
Prometheus, who gave fire to mankind and was tormented for eternity because from the gods by doing so.
Yes.
He did it anyway.
Yes, he did.
Would you be, you know, would you even if you believe that you would be tormented for all time, would you stop you know, shedding your light into the darkness? And in this case it's the Christian church. Would you stop?
No, I would continue and to do what I do and speak the truth and risk the chance of being in prison for eternity. I'd rather help people get the truth out there and shine the light. Be the light bearer. That is who I've been for a long time.
Well, you mentioned earlier, and I was thinking of a Bible verse, and I know we've said this before. I'll find it, put it up here on the screen. That of course, I'm paraphrasing here. The Christ said, "If they hate you, know that they hated me before you." It is the state of a true light worker to be hated and to be ignored and to be told that you're wasting your time. This is something that anyone who's ever tried to make a change in the world has been told. You're wasting your time. You're going against something that's too hard. Just go with the flow. Be like everybody else. Just work on yourself. Don't worry about anybody else. But the thing is, me personally, and I know Lucifer, we don't share all the exact same views. But if I'm working on somebody else, as far as I'm concerned, I'm working on myself. I don't see a distinction between me and other people. Not as much as most, which goes a little bit against what you're saying. We are all individuals. Yes, we are all individuals. But we're all part of a oneness too, and I see that. Of course, I'm going to look at things that way from a Buddhist perspective. But I don't feel like I'm wasting my time any more than a musician who is playing at his home and for himself to hear it even is wasting his time. I do what I do, and I don't think that anyone who isn't a true light worker can understand this. A lot of these people, chime in here when you like, Lucifer. A lot of these light workers, they seem to be sort of talking into an echo chamber. They're just getting back a whole lot of, I'm talking about love and I'm getting love back. I'm talking about love and I'm getting love back. But the way I think of it is that a lot of these light workers are walking out into the midday sun with a flashlight and shining it around. It's just useless. If you're not shining it into darkness, what use are you as a light worker, right?
Exactly.
Okay. Well, I mean, this all has to do with the knowledge thing too. The suppression of knowledge and the suppression of self is what we're talking about here in this particular video.
I would like to mention something too regarding the light workers and some of the people in the New Age movement. A lot of them, when they go to these seminars, you notice that these seminars are pretty expensive, and and their books and their CDs are very expensive. And what about the people who are poor, who have really nothing, or even maybe just an average person? They might not have the time to do everything, but
so you don't think that these people should be charging such high prices? At least they should be maybe making a living, but not making millions of dollars off of this, off of doing what they're doing as far as trying to enlighten others.
Yes.
I mean, in today's society, if you're not making millions of dollars at what you do, you're considered you're not considered a success. But yet, the very people that many of these light workers quote, like the Christ, said things like, and I will find this verse as well. Said things, and I'm paraphrasing. The Son of Man doesn't even have a pillow to lie his head on. I mean, obviously the Christ didn't have any money. the Buddha relinquished all his worldly means and went out to teach. And when he started, he wasn't sure whether anyone would listen. He wasn't sure whether it was a waste of time, but he did it anyway. It doesn't really matter. You do what you do because you are who you are, right?
Yes.
I mean, if I was a musician, I would play, whatever instrument I play, and regardless of what anyone says about it. So, boy. Anyway, this is running a little long. This whole video is going to be a little longer than I thought. Again, so let's wrap this up. I may be putting a little bit more in here a little bit later, but anyways, good discussion.